Our next speaker is the Moroccan Minister of Economic Inclusion, Small Business, Employment and Skill, His Excellency Younes Sekkouri. Would you please proceed to the platform? Thank you.
Good afternoon. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, wassalatu wassalamu ala ashraf al-mursaleen. I'd like first of all to thank the organizers and Mr. Chair for inviting me to this closing ceremony and address this closing remarks. Warmest thanks go to His Excellency, Mr. President, also for the honor that he provides to all the Moroccan people by addressing the closing remarks from Cape Verde, an insular country, but who did very well with COVID-19, as we were discussing in the lounge prior to your speech here. And also thanks to His Excellency, Mr. Prime Minister, for his outstanding remarks also. And when I analyzed both the speech of His Excellency, Mr. President, and Mr. Prime Minister, and we have a very profound and deep analysis of the international geopolitical and economic situation, and of course all the prevailing new types of strategies that we will need to implement in a multilateral scope, so that we can bring some courageous countries to put their efforts in common in order to try and bring some solutions in common, especially that the problems that we're facing today are definitely difficult to solve within the scale of single countries. I want also to say that we are very, we do definitely agree that the voice of the South needs to be heard. And I think that this is one of the DNA pillars of the Institute, of Amadeus Institute, and this is why we are very proud of carrying such an initiative from Morocco, but for and with our African friends and all our international friends. I have 2 or 3 major thoughts to share with you. It's a closing ceremony, so definitely I will not take much long time. First of all, I want to address what's happening from the perspective of leadership, because countries are what they are, means are what they are, international relations are what they are. The margin of intervention is not that wide. We can believe candidly that so many things would change, but it's not going to be the case. It has not been the case for the last years. And the problems are getting more complex. The stakes do not converge for so many nations, for so many countries. And we're definitely in the eve of a new era in the international relations. Governments should provide answers to the domestic questions that are getting harder, especially that democracy is hopefully getting more space within countries. The social demand is huge, especially after COVID-19 and all the complications of the crisis that we see. So, as governments, we need to provide concrete and practical solutions that we have to implement within the very short term and the medium term. One of the theories, the concepts that now try to find themselves, their places into the governing styles of action is the social state. We definitely need to be more social because there is more exclusion. But the question that we are asking ourselves is, what kind of social states can we provide? Especially that the means are getting, we have more scarcity of means and development tools. So one of the ideas is to say, are we in a position to provide the model of an active social state, which is not the traditional social state that used to be delivered in the previous decades. An active social state that tries, of course, to fight the exclusion and provide the social nets. This is, for instance, what Morocco is doing. In 2020, His Majesty, King Mohammed VI, launched a huge program to generalize the social protection for all the Moroccans. And today, after 1 year of the appointment of the new government, we are to deliver social protection to more than 20 million Moroccans by the end of the year, this year. It costs a lot of money. We've been discussing the budget bail these last weeks. And one of the discussions we had within the government team is what kind of arbitrage, because one needs to choose. You know that the social protection in Morocco is divided into two major systems. One is mandatory for all those who work. It's based on contributions. And the other one is for those who don't have the necessary means to contribute. So it's on solidarity. So one of the decisions was to bring all those who were in the solidarity system called RAMED to the mandatory system called AMO, Assurance Maladie Obligatoire, by the end of this year. So this is a second big achievement of this royal project within a couple of months. The other thing, within this social state concept that we're trying to implement, is to address all the populations which are not in a position to contribute in a steady pace, namely those who work but who are not working as, who don't earn wages, self-entrepreneurs. So we also address this population in order to widen the coverage of this social protection. Of course, we are addressing the question of social nets. It costs a lot, and the government has to pay part of the bill and to search for financial instruments of the other part of the bill. The other pillar of the policy that we're trying to develop, of course, is the social active state is a state that provides jobs to its citizens so that these citizens can earn their daily lives and make the lives. When analyzing what happened and what is still happening after COVID-19 and all these crises, we are definitely in a new era where the value chains are getting reorganized. Of course, Morocco has done a lot to be a key regional player in a couple of industries that create jobs, namely the automotive industry, the aircraft industry, the electronic industry. Now we're on the pharmaceuticals. And the idea is, what are we going to do to make sure we have enough private investment that will generate sufficient, decent jobs for all these YZ generations who carry a dream of the future? So we launched a huge dynamic on the private investment following His Majesty's instructions. And now we're in a position to have this new bail, this new law, after 66 versions. that will be implemented and that covers all types of investments, including the very small businesses. The very small businesses, which are responsible for 71% of the jobs in the formal economy. The very small enterprises, which are what we have to build and support and boost, of course, around big investments and direct international or foreign direct investments. So we have a dual policy where we're working on the same time, both on the investment, especially the private investment, because we do have important public investment. But one of the recommendations of the new economic and development model of Morocco is to shift from 2/3, which is the case now, of investments that come from public funds to 1/3, and of course the two remaining thirds would be implemented and honored by the private sector. Well, I would say that we have a dual policy with both the social and economic perspectives, and we want absolutely to achieve our objectives by next year. But still we have a challenge, and this is my last point. The last challenge is, how are you going to make this structural change into the economy? How are you going to bring the economic operators and players to invest more, to recruit more, to connect more our country to the international economy, to the shift in international economy? Taking into account, of course, all what was said in the beginning, results of the crisis of the COVID and geopolitical crisis. We definitely need to have social peace. We need to make all the players advance. I'm talking mindset here, which is the most difficult. So we reinvented what we call social dialogue. And for more than 3 decades, we achieved, for the first time, a historic agreement on the eve of the 1st of May this year, 2022, with the unions and the employers, of course, the government, around major reforms. It has never been the case. An agreement where our reforms are timelined. I'm going to quote just 2. One is the law that organizes strikes, which is planned for January 2023. It has never been the case since Morocco was independent. And 2, the law on labor, the labor law, Code du Travail, which is planned for July 2023. The last iteration of the law was on 2004. So these are major reforms that we try to place in one single year, so that we make sure that there is a new mindset, a new collective mindset that is the emanation of a new style of leadership where the players take the responsibilities and build the country together. Of course, dialogue is important, democracy is important, and interaction is important so that we can face together the international challenges that we have. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for listening, and once again, thank the organizers for this wonderful event. Thank you.